Hey, David Revhoff here. Welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to talk a little bit about some good books to get started in investing. I'm going to be looking at a couple good books that are just like great books to start with, and then also digging into some value investing books, and then some books focused on like individual investors. A book that I recommend starting with it's a common recommendation is Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's not my favorite book. There's things I don't like about it, but I think it's a really good book for helping you get into the right mindset. And really, what he's doing with this book is comparing his dad and kind of a typical way people look at investing and what assets are and what liabilities are, with his rich dad, who's a little more savvy with investing and business, and thinks about those things pretty differently, and how some of that's like counterintuitive. I think one example that he uses a lot is just like a house. So people often describe it as an asset and like something that everybody should own. And he really looks at it and says, like, it's true, it's something you're buying that's probably going to appreciate in value. But at the same time, it's not bringing you money each month that you can access. You're paying interest, you're paying down the principal, and then you've probably got a lot of like ongoing like maintenance costs, for example, taxes, stuff like that. So, even though it's something that is going up in value, it's not necessarily a good investment. Um, so, yeah, he goes through a lot of examples like this and just really focuses on, I would say, cash flow quite a bit, and how it's how people use it to build wealth, and how that's kind of like counter to what most people are taught. I think a lot of it is basically made up, but I still think it's a useful exercise to contrast like a different way of looking at things with how most people look at them. A book that's kind of similar in that regard is The Richest Man in Babylon. And this is a book that just follows somebody who doesn't start out with much, and how he uses the money he's made to invest it and grow it over time, doing things that are also kind of like counterintuitive to what most people would do. So those two books are both really short. You can see this is a very short book. So they're kind of nice books that you can read in one sitting, or if you're on a plane ride or car or whatever. You can read those pretty quickly. And so if you want to dig a little bit deeper, if you've already read those or you're looking for something to read after that, there's kind of a series of books that get further and further into the kind of the math behind value investing and the history. And a good one to start with that's a little bit lighter is Buffettology. So this one digs into, obviously, into Warren Buffett, who's one of the most famous value investors. It goes and looks at some companies that he purchased, and why he purchased them, and when he purchased them, what he paid for them, and like how, how he evaluated those businesses and kind of what they did, after he purchased them. And it digs into just like different factors that he looks into, like management, finding businesses that he can understand, finding businesses that have kind of predictable earnings and dividends and things like that. And focuses a little bit on I think it focuses a little bit on the competitive moat that he talks about a lot. One thing that's interesting with Buffett is he, value investing tends to be pretty like quantitative, like focused on numbers, and a little less focused on the actual underlying business, and like how it's going to hold up in the coming years. And so Buffett, over his career, switched a little more from being purely focused on the quantitative side to being more focused on the qualitative side, and trying to find really good businesses that were going to grow for a really long time. And I think he credits a lot of that to his partner, Charlie Munger, his partner in Berkshire Hathaway, who tend to focus. He's still very concerned with the price that he pays, but is also very interested in like the long-term competitive advantage of the company. So if you've read that and you want to dig a little bit deeper, this book, The Intelligent Investor, this is a classic that pretty much all people who are serious about value investing have read. It's written by Benjamin Graham, who is Warren Buffett's teacher, and Warren Buffett sought him out and wanted to work with him also after he wrapped up with school. But this book is a little closer to being like a textbook. I think it's about 500 pages long, but it's pretty good. The chapters are relatively short and easy to understand, and really digs into kind of like the math behind value investing and doing things like comparing one business to other businesses in the industry, or like comparing it to different periods and time. And it's really not too bad to get through. So this is something that I would recommend kind of reading if Buffettology piqued your interest. And then for the people who are like super hardcore, if you want to, you could go and read the actual textbook, Security Analysis. This is also by Graham and his, I think it was like his teaching assistant and then business partner, Dodd. But this really goes through and analyzes, like talks about how to analyze companies and financial statements and really digs into the details. And then it covers lots of like special situations. This one is like, I think people who are serious about value investing, even they go and read this, feel like it's pretty dry, and there's a lot of it that doesn't really like apply today. So I definitely would only consider this if you were very, very interested in like kind of learning the history of Graham. And then for most people, there's some newer books that might be of interest, or I should say like newer and popular older books. The newest one's probably Richer, Wiser, Happier. This is by William Green. And this one just touches on a bunch of themes with value investors. And so each chapter, I think, includes one or two value investors. But it's really focused on personalities and what kind of makes what value the famous value investors, really successful ones, have had in common. And a lot of that is because value investing is about looking for things that other people don't see, like looking for mispriced stocks or things that are out of favor and waiting for them to like come back into favor. Value investors typically tend to be like somewhat contrarian. So a lot of what's covered in this book is just kind of like the eccentricities of these value investors and how they don't mind kind of going against the crowd. Because of that, it's not my favorite one. I mean, that stuff's kind of fun to read about a bit, but it's not I would actually rather learn about investing than just like these eccentric people. Another book that's similar, isn't necessarily focused on value investors, is Market Wizards. There's several of these, but it kind of does a similar thing where it looks at famous investors, how they got started, and then what they ultimately did to like make their money, and kind of look at their journey along the way. And it covers a bunch of different investors. So yeah, I mean, those are kind of the main books that I would recommend. There's, if you're looking for like another value-based kind of quantitative book, Joel Greenblatt's The Little Book That Beats the Market is another good one. As the name suggests, it's a really short book, but it focuses on just like a formula, basically. I think he calls it the magic formula for how to look for opportunities in the market. And he actually has this thing called the magic formula where he shows you a set of stocks you could pick every year, and then with his system shows you like how those are gonna have outperformed the market in the past using the criteria that he uses to pick those. So that's kind of interesting. One last one that I'll throw in is, this is one that I want to read that I haven't read yet. It's called The Dhandho Investor. And it's by Mohnish Pabrai, who's kind of like a Buffett and Munger acolyte who's been very successful. But the theme of the book is looking for opportunities where your downside's very minimal, but your upside's really big. And I think the way he describes it is like, heads I win, tails I don't lose much. And I think the book's, talks about people who have done this well, like groups of people who have done this well, like family businesses and things like that. And then, just some examples of those kinds of opportunities. So anyway, I think that's probably another really cool mindset book. I also happen to really like Manish Pabrai. He gives a lot of talks to students on YouTube, and I think he's got some really great talks too. So if if you just want to check him out, just search for him on YouTube, and you can find probably a couple dozen really good talks that he's given. So anyway, those are just some suggestions I have for books that you could check out if you're interested in investing. There's different ways to invest, but I think of like fundamental investing as being value investing. You can do things like invest off of momentum, where you're just kind of like looking at hot stocks that are taking off, or you can do like trading, which is even faster paced, like within the day or day to day or week to week. But when I think of buying a company because you want to own that company and you're going to hold on to it for a long time, that's to me that's value investing, and so that's why I suggested some of these books. So anyway, I hope that was helpful. If you liked the video, hit like. If you wanted to see more videos like this, hit subscribe. I do a mix of videos kind of about financial stuff and coding and programming and some different topics. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.